Should we just start or?
Just one moment. Yeah, so we're live now. Hey everyone, my name is Søren. I'm Pierre here, both from Synapse, and we will just give the word to Emando from the beginning. So feel free to start your presentation.
Hi guys, we are Pernille here and Morten from Emendo Consulting Group. I'm the managing partner of Emendo Research and Development, and Pernille is a junior consultant here in Emendo. So we'll give a very short introduction to Emendo Consulting Group, but the primary focus of this presentation will be Emendo Research and Development, which we represent during this career fair. There you go. So Emendo Consulting Group is a group of companies specialized in consulting within pharmaceutical life cycle. So we have research and development, design and engineering. We have project consulting, implementation, improvement, and Blackbird. We are around 90 people and growing a lot these days. Common for all of us are that we share an office, administrative personnel. We do cross-functional projects where we are working together in between the companies, and we also share a lot of crazy parties, don't we? So, but I'll encourage you guys to look at our webpage for more information on the different companies. Going into detail, details about research and development. So basically what we do is that we cover consultancy within the entire development phase, all the way from basic research where we do scientific consulting, we develop analytical methods. We have chemists, we have microbiologists, we have engineers, we have design control specialists hired here in Emendo, and we cover the entire drug development, clinical trial, project management of that, all the way to regulatory approval and the beginning of manufacturing. We are currently 10 people in Emendo Research and Development, and we are growing. We have one position open, which you can apply for here at Graduate I think most of what is said here can be found on our webpage, and I really encourage you to go there or follow us on LinkedIn. But today, the focus on this presentation will be Pernille, who joined Emendo Research and Development 9 months ago, and she will give a talk on how she started up, how we found each other, and how she has grown into becoming a very talented young consultant. So enjoy.
So I think I will take over the word. As Morten said, my name is Pernille Bonner. I'm 25 years old, and I have been a scientific junior consultant in Emendo R&D for right about 9 months. But I want to start a little bit earlier than that. So back in 2014, I started my bachelor's degree in human life science engineering at DTU. And already at this point, I knew the importance of work experience within our industry. So I started looking for student jobs quite early. I had some student jobs in different companies, but in 2017, I had my first student job in a pharmaceutical company. Here I worked in the process development team in Bavarian Nordic, where I did tasks such as data reviewing, data collecting, data analysis, and some report writing. And in Bavarian Nordic, I actually met Morten, who was here with me before. Morten, he was working as a consultant from Emendo in Bavarian Nordic, and he introduced me to Emendo Research and Development. So this was the first time I was actually introduced to consultancy within our industry. So after 2 years in Bavarian Nordic, I wanted to try something else. So I applied for a project management internship in Novo Nordisk. Here I did management and strategic communication tasks within clinical trials. So it was quite different from my previous job in Bavarian Nordic. As it was an internship, it ended after 6 months, where I started writing my thesis at the National Food Institute at DTU. And January this year, I finished my master in pharmaceutical design and engineering. But prior to finishing my master, I actually called Morten and I asked him about how it is being a consultant in our industry. And most specifically, I asked him about what my opportunities what my opportunities were in research and development. And obviously he persuaded me, because straight after the call, I applied for the position, and here I am today. All right. Wait a minute. Sorry, guys, I'm here again. I just want to tell you a little bit about how my journey have been as a scientific junior consultant in Amendo R&D. For me, I started out straight away on a project together with Morten, where we had to optimize an old pharmaceutical process. And the main problems with this process was that it was very expensive. It had a high scrap rate. There was a lot of manual handlings in this process, and there was only limited development data available. So there was quite a few things to fix. So my responsibility and tasks started in the small. So I started out by participating in meetings together with Morten's, taking notes, starting to really understand the industry, and of course understand the customer as well. So I did a lot of everyday project support to Morten, but quite quick, I started getting more and more responsibility. I started out by being responsible for mapping the entire pharmaceutical process. And that was something that I had to learn, because during my studies, I had never done process mapping in this detailed level before. Next, I became responsible for the criticality assessment, where we had to evaluate all uncertainties and gaps in this old pharmaceutical process to be able to prioritize the actual problems. And during this specific, phase, I actually held my very own first full day workshop together with the customer. I think we were about 8 participants from the customer. Morten, he was there supporting me, but other than that, it was my workshop. And I remember it was a very big step for me. And in the beginning, it felt very uncomfortable. But at the end, I really enjoyed it and it went very well. But that is something you have to be able to do as a consultant. You have to just go for it, even though it might feel uncomfortable. So you have to also be able to, do that as a consultant. So to be able to reduce these uncertainties and gaps that we found in the criticality assessment, we had to perform statistical analysis and systematic root cause analysis. And for me, I never had any statistics course during my studies. So again, that was something that I had to learn. So I took some online courses, I bought some books. So basically I learned statistics and jump almost by myself. And again, in Amendo R&D, there is an expectation that one is constantly developing. So you have to be able to acquire new skills and also feel quite comfortable about it. Next, I became responsible for my own little project, having my own project group. And as a project manager, I was able to work with experts from different areas, freeze-dry experts, virus experts, bacteria experts, you name it. For me, that was really inspiring, coming straight from university to suddenly work with experts in different areas. And during this process, I was also allowed to go inside the actual, to observe the actual pharmaceutical process happening. And that is a big part of being a consultant, observing what is actually happening and not just what is supposed to happen. And that is what we call process confirmation. At some point, we started making small changes to this pharmaceutical process, and we have actually also implemented a few in-process controls to be able to monitor and adjust the process accordingly. And we are finalizing our project by implementing a control strategy to be able to facilitate this old pharmaceutical process, and of course, to keep the process in control. So all the work done prior to this step, all the work done in the criticality assessment, that is going to feed into this control strategy. And finally, when making changes to a pharmaceutical process, it might also be needed to update the regulatory file. So I've had meetings with the regulatory department discussing these changes. So as you can see, I have come across so many different topics and areas, and my level of responsibility has increased gradually. And on top of that, I have engaged with so many different stakeholders. So here at the end, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the expectations and concerns I had prior to becoming a consultant. What mindset do you need to have to be a consultant in R&D? And finally, what can you expect being a part of Amendo R&D? So first of all, I had an expectation that I would touch base on many different things. During my studies, I never really knew what I wanted to do after my studies, which was one of the main reasons why I looked into consultancy, because I wanted to try many different things. Sorry, I just got an email. And yes, that is definitely true. I I've come across so many different areas, topics, as I hope you saw on the previous slide, and I've only been here for 9 months. So definitely true. Also, one of my biggest concerns was that I would not need nor use my pharmaceutical background. I was a little bit afraid that it was going to be all lean work. But no, that is definitely not true. First of all, I have to use my pharmaceutical background all the time. But on top of that, I actually have to keep building on my pharmaceutical knowledge to keep up. So I have to keep educating myself. And that is a big part of what I love about this job. Moving on to the mindset. As a junior consultant, I have experienced a very steep learning curve. So you have to be willing to learn and also feel quite comfortable about it. It is also a big plus that you're outgoing and social, because we do meet a lot of new people all the time. A big part of being a consultant is doing presentations, doing workshops, stuff like that. So it's quite good that you're comfortable presenting to other people. For me, that was something that I had to learn. During my studies, I always hated doing presentations. I got so nervous and I prepared for several days or even weeks, but that's simply not possible in this industry. And finally, you have to enjoy being challenged and like a changing mindset, because your projects are never the same and your projects do change quite often. So finally, what can you expect if you would like to be a part of Emindo R&D? So first of all, we have a very social environment. We are very close to our colleagues. If you start on a new project, on a new task, and you don't know anything about it, you can always book one of your colleagues who is really specialized in that area. And second, you can expect continuous development. In Emindo R&D, we would like you to start very broad, encountering many different topics and areas. And then at some point, you start specializing in some area of interest. So our goal is that everyone gets certified in something, so everyone has an anchor point, but with a very broad knowledge. So here at the end, I just want to say that, or summarize my experience in Emindo. For me, Emindo R&D has been the perfect start in the industry. I have learned so many new things. I have been out of my comfort zone more times than I can count. I won't lie about that. But I have met so many clever people. And most importantly, I feel that if you want to learn new things, if you want to get more responsibility, whatever you want, you can achieve it in Emindo R&D. And yeah, so I can only recommend working here. So that's it for me.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Pernille.
You're welcome.
I think we'll just have we have 1 minute, and then the next company will join. So thank you very much for your presentation, and good luck with the one-on-one 5-minute meetings afterwards.
Bye.
Hey. Hello, Christian. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you see me? No?
We can't see you.
Okay, why do I need to click? Video.
All right, so I'm making you a host now, so you can share your screen.
Okay, I can see, yeah.
Hey, Christian.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
We can hear you. So you should be allowed to share your screen now.
Yeah, and where is it? I share my screen.
In the bottom, just next to the chat function.
There you go. Oh, no, I got it. It was gone before. There we go. Okay.
Beautiful. So yeah, the scene is yours, Christian.
Thanks. So, hi everybody who's joining. My name is Christian. I am a co-founder and R&D director at the biotech company called SysBio. So I'll tell you a little bit about SysBio and how we got here. So I'll tell you first a little bit about the company, and then I'll go on to some of the careers we have and an expansion of our workforce that you might find interesting. So SysBio is an industrial biotech spin-out from DTU Biosustain, also known as the Novo Nordisk Foundation Center for Biosustainability. It was founded last year in February by myself and two of my colleagues, Alex and Himanshu. And then we're joined by our CEO, Henrik Meyer. The company has a few other shareholders, which is the university, DTU, and then Zhejiang NHU, which is a Chinese fine chemicals company. So we got the funding from our partner and also some public funding. Currently, we're 10 people, and we're going to grow to about 16 in the coming months. So SysBio, as a startup, you need a strategy to how to enter a market and start playing with the big players. So we're an industrial biotechnology company that produces biochemicals as a part of the transition towards a greener chemical company that's now dominated by production from the fossil fuel industries. In particular, we focus on functional building block chemicals. So small molecules that have improved properties. We work in existing markets and in producing novel compounds as well. And we do so while we try to secure some strong IP protection around our production processes and products. The revenue is generated through B2B sales, partnerships, and a growing portfolio of products. What we do and all our scientists is that we design, build, and improve production organisms using genetic engineering, metabolic engineering. So if we look back in time, even though the company was founded last year, we spent quite some years generating the IP required for starting a company. I was working at a postdoc at the Novo Nordisk Foundation Center for Biosustainability. But once the company was founded and we got some seed funding, it really took off. So last year we started our company. We started renting offices and labs at DTU. We hired our first employees. We designed new offices, got the whole building business strategy up and running, made the major agreements. Then we built a new labs, and then at the end of the year, we moved to our new premises in Hørsholm, north of Copenhagen. And this year we've expanded again, and now we're at our third laboratory expansion and also expansion of our workforce. So we have a product portfolio, and I think what makes us stand out as a biotech startup is that we have products quite close to market entry. We expect sales in next year. So we start generating revenue already next year. So we might not require any more funding and can live off the sales. Well, we have a number of other products in the pipeline. And what we do is that first we analyze, is there a market for this? How can we get it produced and how can we enter market? But what the major part is in the science side, that you have to be able to make a compound. And once you have shown that you can do it, then there's a lot of work in optimizing the production organism so you have to get a viable economic situation out of it. And then meanwhile, you secure IP. So as I said, what we do is that we go into microorganisms and we change their genetics so they produce the chemicals that we want. sometimes we make them make compounds that they have never seen before. So it's a bit of an exciting playground to see what you can actually get these microorganisms to produce. Then we take it into to a laboratory scale fermentation, where we have some state-of-the-art equipment in-house, and then we partner on the upscaling and of the production and the downstream processing and on sales and so on. Building a factory is not the first thing a biotech startup does. So work a lot with regular cloning techniques, genetics. So there's Eppendorf tubes and PCR machines and HPLCs down in the bottom of the screen right now. So those are some of the major tools that we do. The platform and our IP portfolio we have right now is largely focused on two areas. So one is amino acids. So we produce amino acids, the ones we all build from, but they have different industrial uses. So we're entering the market with some of these next years. And then we have a range of novel compounds, mainly unsulfated compounds. And I'll tell you a little bit of story about one case of such a compound. This is a photo of eelgrass, a plant that you'll see out of the ocean out here, out in Øresund, outside Copenhagen. It produces a chemical that's called sustearic acid, which is a natural antibiofoulant. This compound has proven to be to work as an antifouling agent in, for example, paints. So you could paint your ship hull with this natural compound, replacing some of the more nasty toxic chemicals that are out there and are getting increasingly banned. So there's a market opportunity that works well in both that it's a more environmentally friendly product and it's produced through fermentation. So what we do is that we engineer E. coli in this case to produce this acid through fermentation from simple sugars and salts. So going into SysBio, so we're a small team, we're quite young. We're probably the youngest company in terms of average age up here in Hørsholm. It's a fun, active team. So here's a celebration of one of our students we had some weeks ago. On the right side, you see some of the tools, how we work. So we do work that we try to predict on the computer what genetic changes we want to do, and then we design them and start building them using state-of-the-art technologies. It might be CRISPR, it might be something else that we use, and then we assemble a lot of DNA parts, transform them into our production organisms. Then we do screenings of production and how they respond to the genetic changes we do. So we do a profiling on the product formation and the expression of RNA and protein inside the cell. Then we go into fermentation, which is less high throughput, but then we get to know about a bit more about the physiology of the bacteria. Try to learn from it, and then use that into the next cycle of improvements. So working in a startup, you really get the startup experience. You will have a high personal impact on the things that we do. We don't have specialized people for all tasks, which means that the tasks that we have are quite diverse, and we're in it together. So in these pictures, you see how our offices or labs looked last year. So basically, I'm a biotech engineer, and I had to get into becoming a construction engineer. I think transforming an old office into a state-of-the-art laboratory that you see on the right. I'll just tell you a bit about some of the profiles that we have working for us at the moment. So here's a photo of our great scientist, Trine, who's a metabolic engineering scientist. She's a graduate from DTU with specialization in biotechnology. Then she took some classes in the biobusiness program at the business school, and then joined the Danish Technological Institute, where she worked on fermentations. And then we're lucky to hire her. And I should say that you can book Trine for one-on-one talk on Graduate Land if there's still spots available. Otherwise, you can write us. Joachim is our fermentation scientist, so with a bit longer experience. So he's also a biotech graduate from DTU. Then he took a PhD in enzyme science and some postdocs working at a couple of departments at DTU and also at North Carolina State University and the National Food Industry Institute. We have Sebastian, who's a protein chemist from the University of Copenhagen. He has a PhD from Monash in Australia, and then we hired him directly into a postdoc in protein engineering. And Sebastian's role as a protein specialist means that he gets to work on a lot of different projects wherever it's suitable. So we tend to shift back and forth a lot among the projects. So we are expanding quite a lot right now, and we're seeking a number of different people to join some positions here. These are not very super strict, because if we do find the right person, then we try to lay down the domino bricks so that we can fit the best people in. But I'll just go through the openings that we have out there right now. So we're looking for molecular biologists, and this is some of the main work that we're doing. You need to have a high passion for cloning and genetic engineering, be really good at experimental design and data analysis, and appreciating working in a team for a greater goal. Again, a scientist in metabolic engineering here, you might need a higher level experience and a very strong understanding of biochemistry, microbiology, and genetics. And there are a number of other qualifications that you can see on our webpage. You can also use this as a guideline if you're not so far ahead in your career and want to know exactly how do you become the specialist in a company like ours. Then we're looking at a fermentation laboratory technician who likes to work hand-on in the laboratory. We have these fermenters that are very critical to our operation, where we need some assistance on running these. We're looking for a postdoc in systems biology to set up an omics platform to design and perform and analyze experiments, and possibly using mathematical models, genome scale models, metabolic models, to analyze the bottlenecks in our production strains. We're also looking for a student, and some of you might be interested in this. It is a part-time job, and it's mainly in the weekends, and it's a chance to get to work with state-of-the-art equipment and in a biotech startup. We'll try to get you into working as part of the team as good as possible. And then we have a non-science job in project administration. And this, we have a lot of internal and external stakeholders that we need to take care of. So there's a lot of project managing, reporting, bookkeeping, communication, procurement, production of materials that we send out, and also some work on the finance side of the company. And you will be working very closely with our CEO. We do take students in on occasions. We do get a lot of attention, and we do not have the room at all times to take in as many as we would like. It's a great opportunity to come in here, but tell us if you do want to go in, why you want to do it. Be very motivated and tell a little bit about yourself and sell yourself. So going through these openings, what we really like to see is brains and heart. We like to hire the best, most intelligent people, but we really also are looking for some would appreciate the jobs and be highly motivated and have a great interest in the teamwork that it takes. You might not have the greatest experience, but if you're willing to grow and to learn, then that might be just as good. So go on to bio.com/careers and see the one openings we have. And finally, it would be great if you could come and talk to us. So Trine, Himanshu, and I are open for one-on-one talks. If we're fully booked, then feel free to contact me on my email that you see there for questions, or we can set up a quick chat. Also, please go and look on our LinkedIn page to follow us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hi guys.
Bye.
Yes, hi.
You should have access to share screen.
I will give it a try. See if it works. So there we go.
Awesome. So yeah, the scene is yours.
Great. And this screen is shared?
It is.
Perfect. Okay. Well, hi guys and welcome. And I'm glad to have this opportunity to briefly take you through some of the top themes that we very often at EDA talk with members about, and that could be students and newly graduated members in this process of creating professional relations to companies. And I just have this few minutes of listening to Christian, and it was really interesting because I think now I'm maybe at the other side of the table, trying to give you the best tips and tricks for how do you contact, how do you make sure that you as a student, or for some of you soon to graduate, how do you make sure that you are relevant for the company? So how do you stand out in the crowd? I am Frederikke. I work at EDA as a career consultant, and I have worked for more than 2 years now with students and graduates, basically focusing on finding your way into maybe an internship, maybe your first full-time job, but definitely finding your way in suddenly trying to create professional relations and trying to find your professional way. So let's move a little bit on. I know that most of you have met my colleague Line earlier today, where she talked about this bull's eye, hitting the sweet spot. And now when we're talking about this, you see these 3 elements. There are something that you can do, your skills. There are things that you want to do, so this is your motivation. But then there is a really important element, the need of the company. So what is it that they are looking for? That's what we talk about when we say bull's eye. It's really to finding the match between these 3 elements. And with that in mind, I will take you through I could talk about this for hours, but I only have 15 minutes today. So I will take you some of the top tips and tricks I can give you to make sure that you hit bullseye when you are creating professional relations. So I really like to call it to find the sweet spot. Hitting bullseye, that's where we find the sweet spot. And I say always, we always need to focus on this match between what we can do, what are our skills, what we are motivated for doing, and then of course, what is the company looking for. So I know Line also told you a bit about the pitch. The pitch could be another way to say the pitch that will be your professional introduction to yourself. So when you are asked, maybe at a career fair like today, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? That is your keyword for, now I should start my pitch. But what I will dig into a bit more now for these few minutes I have will be your CV and your cover letter. That are 2 tools that you will always use, at least very often use when you are applying for jobs or internships. So how do we make sure that we hit the sweet spot in all of these three elements, and especially I will focus on CV and cover letter. So here I just have some few statistics, some numbers for you. Says that 65% of the companies who have been hiring, they say that the biggest turn on they know is when they receive standard material. So when they can feel from your cover letter and from your CV, this is just generic material. This is probably the CV and cover letter you have sent for maybe 10 other companies. In that case, they don't feel your motivation. They don't feel that you talk to them. So with this in mind, I would like to show you this sentence. What does the company want to know? What are their interests? What are their needs? And keep this question in mind when you're writing your CV, when you're writing your cover letter, even when you're calling the company, maybe on a job ad, figuring out what are their needs, what do they want to know about me, so they become sure, they get convinced about this bullseye. You know, you have hit it bullseye because there's an overlap between their need and what they want to know about what you can do and what you want to do. So I'll keep on referring back to these three elements and talking about bullseye. So the pitch here is just, I like this slide because it becomes really practical how you can prepare. So find these 7 to 10 key competencies that you would like to be to incorporate in your pitch. So again, I said another way of describing the pitch could be your professional introduction to yourself. And keep in mind, what of these, maybe around 10 competencies, do I want to print into the receiver's mind when I have finished my pitch? When we're doing our pitch, we might have 30 seconds, maybe a minute, but it's a really short amount of time where we need to make this first impression. So be really clear in what are these competencies you want to incorporate. And then think about incorporating them. I like to see these three different elements. So who are you? That could be super short. Just your professional title. What are you educated within? What are your skills? So think about maybe some key competencies you've gained through your thesis, through a project, maybe through if you have done a student job. These are your skills. And in what context could they be used? And here, that's where we talk about to hit bullseye, the sweet spot, because you can mention heaps of skills that you have developed through your studies, but it's not all of them that are equally relevant depending on the company you are pitching to, or maybe someone working within your field. So maybe the title here should be the pitches, because you need to have many pitches depending on the situation that you are in, depending on the company that you're pitching to. Maybe you're pitching to someone in an organization that is within your field, but to someone who's in a very different department. Then you need to turn down a little bit of your really geeky language, because you need to make sure that the one you pitch to follow along. And in another situation, you might be pitching to someone who is with the same educational background as you. And then you can really be detailed in the competencies that you use, because you know they will follow your drill. All right, so we're not sticking too much with the pitch. I would like to take you to the CV. When I'm not facilitating online seminars, having workshops, being out at the universities, talking to students, I read through and give feedback on a lot of CVs and also cover letters. So here are some facts that are really important that you listen carefully to and really consider when you are writing your CVs. We do receive a lot of not that good CVs, to tell it nicely. So there are just, these are few key elements that, or tips that I would like you to bring for next time you write your CV. First of all, maybe look at the numbers in the corner. It says that 80% of the companies, they read the CV first. And this might be shocking to some of you that you thought, okay, I spend a lot of time on my cover letter and then I have this standard CV. But if we then take a look at the next number, it says that if the CV isn't relevant, it's about half of them who won't read our cover letter. So this really tells us we need to tailor our CV each and every time we write a new CV, each and every time we apply for a new job. So, so with this in mind, how do we then tailor it? That's easy for me to say that you should make sure that you tailor it. And when I say tailored, it's towards their needs. What is it actually that they require in this job? So with this in mind, how to tailor it? First of all, the profile text, which will be the first thing we see at your CV. Next to your picture, very often in the top of the page, we have this little profile text. This is what some of you sometimes call a resume, but it's not a resume. It do not sum up everything that's in your CV. It is simply a profile text that is maybe an extended and of course written pitch. This is here you tell the company from the first maybe 5 to 6 lines they read of your CV, they need to know that there is a match. Here you have the opportunity to share some of the keywords that describe your profile and keywords that's relevant for the job that you're applying for. So think carefully about this profile text and go back to the sentence, the question I put at one of the first slides. What does the company want to know? What is it they are curious about? And then I have this, which is really, really a strong tool for your CV to put your competencies into bullets. See your CV sort of like competencies or a skills catalog. It should be easy reading. We know from surveys that they use, first time they take a look at your CV, they use between 10 and 30 seconds. So why does these competencies work so strong? Is simply because it's easy for the eye. Visually, it's super easy to find these relevant competencies that you describe in bullets. So let's say that you have done your thesis, for instance. I would simply write, under your section you have probably called education, I will write my bachelor thesis with technical focus on, and then one bullet that says this methods, a new bullet with a new method, and a third bullet with maybe your analytical tools. So simply look at my slides, see how little information I have, but that's so easy for your eyes to catch. The same goes for the CV. And then one thing that's really important to keep in mind is, what does the company look for in your CV? As I said, see this as a catalog, an overview over your skills, your competencies. So think, where have I gained some skills? That can be through project. Incorporate some project you have done through your studies. Maybe a student job. Some of you might have done student job, which is within the service. So maybe it says customer service. It's not the fact that you have been able to refill with products at the supermarket, but it's the fact that you have been able to communicate, to do customer service, to be service-minded. Those are competencies that are relevant. And the same counts for the project. There might be things that you have done through your thesis that are not relevant for the company, for this position, then leave them out and sort out of the bullets that you incorporate in your CV, depending on what is relevant for the company. All right, I will, if I have time, I will do some few questions afterwards if there are any. So I will just run through my slides and we will take a look at it. So also just to have a few informations about the cover letter. As you saw in the previous slide, the CV is really important, and I do always spend most time on giving feedback and preparing CVs. But I think it's important still that we understand how to separate the CV and then the cover letter. I have this little metaphor of saying the cover letter to see it as a bridge. So we have the CV, we have the job ad. The CV, no, maybe I should take it the other way around. The job ad is the company's requirements. This is what it takes to succeed in this job. The CV is your catalog over your skills that are relevant for this job. What have you done before? Where have you gained your skills? And then we have the cover letter, sort of building the bridge between what you have done before and how you can contribute to value into this job. So that's simply the purpose of the cover letter. What can you do for them? That's really important to put it into future sense. What can you contribute with?
Sorry, Frederikke, your time is unfortunately up.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I also think that was basically what I want to run through. Lene, my colleague, and I will be available for one-to-walk talks. I still think there are a few available spots. So, and for EDA members, you can always call us and upload your material at the webpage. Then we will have a talk there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lene.
Thank you too.
Yes, Nikolai, are you ready?
I am ready.
Cool. Feel free to take control.
I'll share my screen now.
Awesome.
There we go. I hope you can see the presentation slides now. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining for this online event. I will talk a bit about maybe a bit of an alternative career path today. So let's just get started. Yeah, my name is Nikolai Sedenius. I work as a patent attorney at Højberg. And I'm going to talk the next 10 some minutes about why I think this is, maybe it's not a perfect career for you, but it was for me. So I'll hopefully give you a good idea about whether this is something you're going to pursue. So let's get started. I'm going to tell a bit about myself. So I have a background in organic chemistry, and I did the whole thing with the 3 degrees in the same research group over 8 years. And what I realized during my studies was that the amount of lab work actually went up. Maybe that wasn't so surprising, but it was a bit unfortunate because my interest in lab work skyrocketed a few years before I finished my PhD. So I was certain I wanted to find a career where I could keep my scientific background, but not do any research or lab work. So I had this wish list when I went out and looked for a job. I wanted to keep the contact with researchers. I wanted to communicate science. I wanted to read about science. I loved reading scientific papers. Even though I'm a chemist, I loved biochemistry, medicinal chemistry. So I wouldn't mind if my job included that. And I actually also liked studying at the university, taking courses, reading books, stuff like that. So I'm gonna jump right ahead and say that all of my wishes were met when I started in this position as a patent attorney. So what am I actually doing? Well, I'm helping our clients, researchers at universities, researchers in industry. I am helping them take their inventions and protect them with a patent. So I'm meeting these researchers, I'm discussing their inventions with them, then I'm writing the patent applications for them. I'm having like a really close discussion with the researchers and with my colleagues or the patent agents while writing these applications. I need to have a lot of background knowledge about this scientific field I'm studying, so I get to read about the science. I have a lot of medicinal and biochemistry inventions in my portfolio by now, so I'm actually also ticking that box. That's amazing. And then there's also this exam that you need to pass called the EQE, so you can become an EPA. There's a bit more info about that in a few slides. So just a few points about what I think makes a good patent attorney.
So you need to be curious about science, even if it's a field that you haven't really encountered before. You need to think it's really cool that you get to study this field a bit more, get to know more about it by talking to the researchers that are your clients. You should be analytical, so you see like maybe the inventors have an idea about what their invention is, like what is it that can be protected with a patent, but then you need to step in and say, oh, actually, maybe this is not the aspect we need to protect. Maybe we need to protect something completely different. So I think that's a bit cool that you get to be independent like that. You need to be good at writing and reading, both. Well, we're in Denmark, so Danish, but also could also be Swedish, wherever you end up working, and of course English or French or German, as long as you're within Europe. You need to be confident. Well, a patent attorney is a consultant, so you need to, when you're out meeting clients, you need to show that you are confident in what you're doing. This makes it really strengthens the relationship to your client. So I think that's quite important. You need to both be science smart and business smart. So it's this thing about seeing, like, understanding, first and foremost, understanding the science, but then seeing what can actually be commercialized in this invention, in this idea. What can make the money in the end of this whole project. And maybe tying into that, you need to have a good sense of reality, because maybe the inventor or the researcher will have an idea about that this invention is really cool, and you need to be able to see that maybe it's not a thing that can be commercialized as much as they seem to think. So you need to engage in this discussion with your clients. And then I think something really cool is that even though I'm a consultant now, I get to keep my scientific background or embrace my nerdiness, as I put on the slide here. So I'm really happy I got to keep that. Some more technical requirements. You need, in Europe, I'm just talking about Europe now. If you plan on moving to the US or somewhere else, there's going to be a whole other set of rules. But in Europe, you need a bachelor's degree as a minimum. But many bureaus, like the one I'm in, will preferably hire PhDs, just because that's what's available. So that's a bit, maybe a bit sad for some of us, but that's the reality. And it can be in any technical field. Science, you can even be an engineer, doesn't matter, just some technical field. Fluent in English, we talked about that. Sometimes I'm sitting with Portuguese applications or Japanese applications, and you shouldn't be afraid about studying that language. It's not like you're gonna learn Portuguese or Japanese, but you need to you need to be okay with having to work your way through 400 pages of Japanese. But luckily, there's some phone apps now that can help you a bit with that. So I think it's more fun than it's a hurdle. You need to find a training position. You need 3 years of experience under another European patent attorney before you can sit the exam. Then you need to sit the exam. It's called the EQE, European Qualifying Exam. It has this reputation of being difficult, and it is, but it's also, I'd say, passable. It's just one of those things that needs to be studied for. And at the same time, it's going to be after 4 years, 3 or 4 or 5 years after you start. So you have a bit of time to prepare mentally for sitting this exam. And there are also some other exams. I'm not going to get into that. This EQE is the biggest one to pass. You have a lot of different tasks as a patent attorney. I've never had 2 days that are similar. Your clients are different. They have different inventions. They are at different stages in their patent lifetime. So there's just a ton of different tasks you sit with every single day. And I'm never bored at work, I have to say. Just a bit of advertisement for Holberg here in the end. We are a patent agency. We are about 25 years old. I have 49 amazing colleagues. About 2/3 of them have a technical background like myself. And then the last third are administrative staff that you actually have a really strong collaboration with. So you're always working in teams of a patent attorney who will have a technical background and an administrator who will know all of these formalities, technical requirements there are whenever you're working. So I think that's a really strong collaboration here. And we have the largest life science group in Scandinavia. I think that's really cool. Just some pointers here about what you can expect starting at a company like Højberg. I think it's amazing having colleagues with technical backgrounds, not necessarily the same as mine, but I'm talking with a lot of people coming from universities every single day, both with my colleagues and with my clients. I think it's really cool meeting clients both at universities, but also the industry. I can only talk for Højberg now, but I think we have a really great work-life balance. So you can book me for a talk later today. I have some available time slots if you want to ask me about any of these things. I think it's really cool that we have responsibility from day one. Other places you might end up studying from day one, and then you just study and actually don't do any real work. This might be especially true if you start in a company in Germany, but I think in Højberg and generally Denmark, you get to work on real cases the first day. So that gives the job meaning for me, at least. And then I also think it's quite cool that this job is on the interface between science, business, and law. So we have the science and the inventions. We have the business considerations, because these inventions, the only reason to patent something is if you want to turn it into a business in the end, or so you can make money. So you really need to consider this. And then there's a whole lot of patent law, which is the subject of this EQE exam that also plays into your everyday work. So I think this is really cool, having to juggle these three concepts every single day. So with that, I just want to say thank you for joining this online session, and I'm available until 6 today for 10-minute talks if you want to book me or my colleague Trine, who is also pictured here. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nikolaj. And I think we're ready for the next speaker then, Kirill from McKinsey. Are you here with us?
Yes, I am here.
Perfect. And
Can you hear? Yes, super. Let me just open on the presentation. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
Good. Hello, everybody. My name is Kirill. I am an engagement manager from a McKinsey company here in Copenhagen. And I'm very glad to be here today to try to present what we do and why we believe we need more life science students and PhDs at McKinsey. So I think maybe just one thing to mention, right? So in this presentation, you will hear me and Matthias, but we also have a parallel virtual booth going on. So if you find our profile on Graduate Land, then there is a link that you can follow and actually join it after this presentation, where you can get the possibility to basically talk to some of our consultants, many of which have actually STEM or life science background. But let me start with actually trying to elaborate a little bit more of what we are doing. And then I will have my colleague Matthias who will tell about his own personal McKinsey journey. And he's come from a life science background, so I think that might be interesting to know. The place where I would like to start is basically a quote by our managing partner, Kevin Sneeder. And I think this quote is especially relevant in nowadays, in this 2020 year, which is kind of hit by COVID. So the point is that our world is not getting less complicated, it's actually getting more complicated. And what many people and many companies actually realize that it's just not enough to have the expertise in-house to solve the greatest challenges that those companies and organizations face. They would need to gather more people, and they would need to bring more knowledge and more networks to solve those problems. And this is exactly the place where McKinsey wants to position itself. Somebody who can bring this knowledge and this expertise and this intellectual capacity to different organizations and different people to help them solve their greatest challenges. This is obviously a high-level statement, but let me try to elaborate a little bit more what that practically means. So practically, it means that we in McKinsey, we work with our clients on projects. When I say clients, it's basically many different diverse set of organizations. It can be huge corporates, the biggest ones in Denmark. It can also be public institutions, public health institutions, or any other public institutions that we have in the country or otherwise in the world. It can also be non-governmental organizations, and increasingly so, it is also startups. So basically, because we believe that we should help the ones who are innovating so that they can reinvent our future already now. And when I say project, I also mean very different things, right? It can be some strategic strategies for different companies, what markets they need to enter, how can they grow in the next 5 years, how can they respond to COVID here and now, basically in the next 2 weeks, to make sure that they have all the employees healthy, and they can also collaborate remotely within their organizations. It can also be anything about kind of how we can develop a drug faster so that we can bring it faster to the market to reap some benefits. So all different things. The way we work on daily basis is that we are not sitting ourselves locked in a room and trying to kind of crunch through some data. We're actually working extensively with our clients. From Monday to Thursday, I'm typically at the client side doing workshops, interviewing my clients, sitting together with them, problem solving about things, crunching data with them, trying to come up with kind of different alternatives and the right solutions overall. And also in doing that, I'm obviously relying on my knowledge and experience, but I know limited things, right? What is also happening is that we are trying to bring our experts and the network that we created in the firm to our clients so that they can find the person who did this exact problem or who tried to solve this exact problem 500 times before, so that we can get his or her kind of expertise channeled and contextualized towards a specific client. So this is what we do. What it means for the people who work for McKinsey is also many different things. So one thing is that we are trying to really work on important problems, and thereby, at least I feel honored to be part of contributing to a greater good and a greater impact for many of our clients. Also working with clients, I'm developing relationship and I'm developing my communication skills. In some of this relationship, they actually last beyond the projects, and many consultants, they actually find themselves at some point joining the companies that they used to serve more in kind of employee capacity rather than consultant capacity. And also what it means for me is that I'm continuously learning and developing because I'm exposed to so many different things. I'm working with so many different people, so I can kind of really accelerate my professional and personal development. So let me double click perhaps on this professional and personal development a little bit more when I find the right slide. So we believe that, and we are intrinsically motivated at McKinsey to actually invest in our people, because in the end, we would like you, whoever works for us, to be relevant for our clients. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you have the right skills and mindsets and expertise to actually bring some value to our clients. And the way, there are multiple tools that we are having to ensure that. One is that we have these interdisciplinary teams. What it means is that basically on any given project, you will work with people from different nationalities, different cultures, different backgrounds, and different kind of knowledge pools, so that you can kind of a little bit piggyback on their learnings and learn something yourself by just being exposed to that. We also have this feedback culture, which practically means that I'm as a project manager on bi-weekly basis, I would be sitting with each member of my team for half an hour discussing two things. what things they're doing great and that they can still or continue leveraging in their daily work, and what things they can still kind of work on improving to be even better consultants. And as intimidating as it sounds, kind of to be kind of having these conversations on bi-weekly basis, I actually now personally believe that it's a great tool for your personal and professional development. Because if you're really reinforced for all the good things every 2 weeks, and you're given some specific guidance and some practical action points on the things that you can do better, this is perhaps the best way you can really tailor your development path. And obviously, we have also like more formal comprehensive trainings. So over the last 4 years that I've been with the McKinsey, I've been to the US, to Austria, to the Netherlands, to Sweden, doing kind of 1 week long trainings on different topics, which was a good way to learn something new, obviously, but it was also a good way to actually connect informally with some of our colleagues in more like training settings, not like project settings. So that's a little bit about development. Let me also spend a couple of minutes just talking a little bit about McKinsey in Denmark. So McKinsey have been in Denmark for the last almost 40 years. Right now we have around 130 employees, and around 100 of them is actually consultants, the ones that are serving our clients. And we are located in a beautiful spot just in front of the Christiansborg on the other side of the channel, in the building where Niels Bohr was born one day. What you probably don't know about our McKinsey office in Copenhagen is that we actually have a lot of non-business profiles in the firm. So basically, a few years ago, more like 5 to 10 years ago, we realized that this concept of a consultant having extensive business knowledge to be able to be effective is no longer valid. And we started investing in actually making our consulting base a little bit more diverse, because we intrinsically believe that the diversity is where you typically find the right answer. And what has happened since then is actually by the end of 2020, every fourth, so 25% of our consultants, they will have STEM background, so either a science, technology, engineering, or mathematical education. And kind of aiding the also like political science, lawyers, medicine students, we would have basically business profiles a minority in Copenhagen, if not this year, then the next year. Which also brings the point that even if you come with a life science background and may not be that much interested or know a lot about the business, we still believe that your skills, your mindsets, and your background would be relevant for our clients. And obviously the business side of things and some other tools you can learn by doing, but kind of bringing this perspective from your education would bring enormous value to our clients. So I will perhaps pause here and we'll hand over the stage to my colleague, or maybe, sorry, before that, just very quickly on how you can join the firm. And for more details, please visit our Zoom call that I advertised before. But there are two main ways I think I would like to highlight. One is the internship, which is open for kind of people who are still studying. And more common way to actually get a full-time offer is once you are done with your master's, so PhDs, then you can kind of join the firm as what we call a consultant or a junior associate. Or if you have had quite some experience in the industry, then you can also join directly as an associate. And what you need to do is basically to put your CV together, application, your transcripts, and submit. And this is how the process works, and you can learn more about it on our website. With that being said, Matthias, maybe you can share a little bit about your own journey. Let me just find yourself.
Yes, thank you, Kirill. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So hey everyone, thanks Kirill. So let me take you through my McKinsey journey, and I tried to summarize most of it on the slide. But before jumping into it, just a bit of background. So I graduated from DTU with a master's degree in chemical and biochemical engineering in 2018, and joined McKinsey in that October. So meaning that I've been with McKinsey now almost 2 years. And the headline and the themes of my McKinsey journey, I think, can be described in three things. So one, I've been focusing a lot on digitization. I've been focusing a lot on pharmaceuticals and healthcare. and I've been focusing a lot on organizational transformations. All this I try to capture on the small dots on the slide, and just from a quick scan through, what is apparent, and I like to share with you, is that the journey has been taking me across big parts of Europe. I've spent time in Sweden, Austria, London, Belgium, and I've been working in a lot of different functions within these industries. So, but from the start, so when you join, and when I joined, I got on a 2-week training program with my new McKinsey colleagues, calling Embark, getting a lot of this basic consulting skills. So you're really being equipped to all of the new tasks ahead. And it also gave a super strong feeling of community. And many of my colleagues I started with, they're still here, and it's actually kind of very, very nice to familiarize yourself with your colleagues in spending a week in Sweden with them. Then I'd like to tell you a bit about how I used my STEM background in some of the projects. And the very first project that I got on, I was called by our recruiter on the Friday, on the last day of the training, and asked if I could join a new project starting on Monday. And I joined an ongoing project with a pharmaceutical company, where I, as of day one, was actually put down in an interview where I could leverage some of the knowledge I had from my master degree, actually. So I supported the pharmaceutical company in optimizing their internal processes in the R&D department, meaning I was walking around together with the client, interviewing stakeholders and understanding their pain points and how we could potentially solve it. And we ended up building 2 digital projects for them. After that, I went on a digital and analytics training in Germany. So we have a lot of these internal trainings to ensure that all this huge pool of knowledge is shared among ourselves as well. And that was actually a really good kickstart into analytics and analytics work. We have multiple of these. Typically, they vary from a day to a week. And you'd go on some of them on average, depends, 2-3 times a year. Then after that, I was put on a project where I, together with the healthcare system, set up a supercomputer for personal medicine. So basically, at the point in time, the strongest one in Northern Europe. And here again, I was using my background from chemistry to say, how are we actually going to do the analysis of DNA strings? So to that level of detail, because it was applicable. So fasting forward a bit, I've been working on traditional shorter projects as well. So 2-week projects on a bit on sales growth or strategy. And lately, which I'm still working with, is another pharmaceutical company. So where I'm together with the clients, working day to day on this new ways of working. So instead of only giving them strategy, I'm actually building their capabilities in a new setting. And I'm helping them also, again, prioritize. So what focus area and what strategy in digital and in pharma should we focus on? Here, again, bringing some of the expertise that I have from my previous clients, bringing some expertise from the broader part of McKinsey, and together with them, really focusing on the impact and why we're doing these things. Cool. Let me pause here and look at time. And I think it's 1 minute left. I don't know if the format is that people can ask questions. If yeah, then feel free to shoot.
Otherwise, also just as a reminder, don't hesitate to visit our virtual booth. So please find our profile on Graduate Land, and then you can see the link there. So and then you will have more opportunities to ask questions and actually talk to more of us. Thanks a lot for listening, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you very much for that, Kirill and Matthias. We will hand the stage to Simon Kucher now. Alexander, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. My colleague Omar is also joining. Just a moment to set up.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Let me just get the presentation up.
Sure thing.
Share screen. Excellent. Well, first of all, welcome to this presentation. My name is Omar Ahmed. I'm a managing partner at Simon Kucher Partners of the Copenhagen office, and I look forward to presenting a little bit about who Simon Kucher is, and then more importantly about our life sciences practice and division. So actually today we actually have 4 or 3 other colleagues of mine, Martina Sampo, Elisa, and Alexander Christian. So Alex will be joining a little bit today and talking a little about life as a consultant, and the other 2 will be available for the virtual boost that has been set a little bit later. So a little bit about myself. I've been at the company now over 20 years, always worked in the life science division, originally from Denmark, born in Denmark. I did actually studied abroad in UK and Switzerland and did the SEMS degree. And basically, except for a few stints and a startup, I've spent the last 20 years at Simon Kucher in life sciences. Enough about me, a little bit about who we are as a company, a few slides about what we do, and then Alex will talk a little bit about why us. So we have this one slider, I think is a good way to give it a little bit overview of what Simon Kucher is. We are what we call a globally renowned consultancy for top-line power. What does top-line power mean? I think the easiest way to define that is that we are on the sunny side of the P&L. That means that anything to do with commercial, marketing, strategy, pricing, etc., is that what we focus on. Anything that has to do with the dark side of the P&L, cost-cutting, restructuring, and so on, that is not our focus. We are 39 offices around the world, 1,400 employees, grown 18% every year. I think since we started, we double every 5 years. Very clear focal profile in what we call top-line power. But that is kind of what is called overall Simon Kucher. But if you zoom into our life science division, what are we in a nutshell? So out of the 1,400 employees, we are around 245, and I think we're around 300 now. Employees that are dedicated to life sciences. That means that from the day you start till you exit or become a partner, you're actually working within the world of life sciences. We work in actually 21 offices out of the 38, where we actually have a dedicated life science team. We contribute around 90 million euros. We will actually hit more than 100 million euros this year revenue, and we cover basically the whole global healthcare market with a variety of services and subsectors. Now, if you look at life sciences, when the context of Simon Kucher, we are by far the biggest revenue contributor. Actually, the company Simon Kucher was actually founded in life sciences around 35 years ago. Our founder Hermann Simon Eckhard Kucher, they founded the first pricing methodologies to measure willingness to pay for drugs. So not pricing products by cost, but pricing based on willingness to pay. And when it comes to pharmaceutical drugs, as you know, the big cost is development in phase 1 to 3, and whereas the variable cost is 0, so getting the pricing right is correct. And that has actually stuck with our company throughout the years, which is why we're still the biggest division, and also contribute a significant amount of revenue. And when you look at actually life sciences and actually double click, life science is not just life sciences. There are actually multiple areas within life sciences that you can specialize in and work on, all the way from, pharmaceutical to traditional drug companies. Here, we've been fortunate enough to work for 24 of the top 25 largest pharma companies. And I think we worked on 8 of the top 10 blockbuster drugs that are out there in medtech and diagnostics. And actually that should be split. They are quite different, but in the medtech and diagnostic space, we work for 40 of the top 45 leading medical device companies and diagnostics companies worldwide on a continuous basis. For biotech, we work for the 5 largest and a lot of small, mid-sized biotech companies. Vaccines, we work for on a continuous basis 4 of the top 5 largest vaccine manufacturers. And as you can imagine right now with the COVID situation, we've been working a lot in this area. Also within health IT, which is actually a new topic that has actually kind of emerged over the last 5-6 years, working with health IT, digital therapeutics companies, to kind of help them monetize their services and solutions to the market. We've done quite a fair bit on this project, quite a lot actually in the US from our San Francisco office. We also work a little bit in what we call B2B space, so life science B2B, so the service providers behind the pharma and medtech companies. So for example, clinical research organizations, CROs, or contract manufacturing organizations, CMOs, or contract development, or clinical trial software companies, or toxicology companies. So we work, quite a fair bit on the suppliers to the pharma and medtech companies, so a little bit behind the value chain. Also do quite a lot of work in what we call the OTC and consumer health practice. Worked more than 200 projects. This also wholesalers and distributors, pharmacies and retailers, healthcare providers. We've actually also done quite a lot. So that means hospitals, clinics, etc. And, so when you look at life science, there's quite a lot of work that we do in this area. And one thing that is not here that should be here is actually animal health, which is also a new area that falls within the life science space. As mentioned, we have a global presence, 21 offices around the world. Wherever you see a red dot, we actually have a dedicated life science team. It also means that we work quite globally. I think even in the Copenhagen offices, we have over 5-6 different nationalities, working across languages, working across countries in globally assigned teams. Alex will talk a little bit about that later. And then also when it comes to our backgrounds, we have quite a variety. So it's not all just scientific, it's not all just business background, but a good mix. Coming from the sciences, engineering degree, for example, or the business degree that allows us to be able to provide a holistic view to our clients and customers. Now, what do we actually do? That's actually quite interesting. We do a lot of stuff, and I think 2-3 minutes does not do it justice, but this is, a one-pager big, busy slide to kind of give you an idea of the types of projects we work on. Anything from kind of strategy, market segmentation, innovation strategy, to sales, such as digital sales strategy, tender big deal management, to marketing, customer journey development, launch readiness, a big topic nowadays, down to pricing and market access, like life cycle price management, price model, discounting, governance, and so on. And then, of course, the whole topic of digitalization has become quite big, with a lot of pharmaceutical and medtech companies investing heavily in there, whether it's business model transformations, go-to-market strategy, or big data analytics, et cetera, et cetera. So, the good thing is, or the common thing around that is what you see right in the middle. The red part, top line power, we focus on the sunny side of the P&L. And that is actually, the way the red line that goes through the work that we do. And just to give you an example of some of the projects we worked on, just try to pick one from each subcluster that we work with. On the pharma side, I think it was last year we did quite a big sales force and territory allocation for the US market, and basically, defining what should the sales regions be in the US and how many sales reps should we have in per region, visiting which hospitals, which clinicians, etc., how many times. So really very much on the sales excellence side. Wound care manufacturing was actually one of my projects that we did. We did a global customer segmentation and developing, what offers should go to a segment and what prices should be sold. For example, wound care within the hospitals is not just a Band-Aid. It's kind of multiple things. It can be used for burns, can be used for orthopedic surgery, can be used for diabetic foot ulcers and so on. So we actually developed, a segmentation around the customer saying, which types of wound care products should be matched to which indications and what should be the value communication messaging behind it. Biotech, we did a whole market access and launch strategy for a gene therapy in pediatric diseases. And I would say, I can't remember if we worked for the most expensive drug in the world or the second most, but we've done quite a lot of interesting stuff in this area. Health IT, pricing and packaging for the clinical decision support solutions. So helping clinicians decide, whether how to offer which treatment to which patients. So the software around that, the algorithm around that, how to monetize that. CROs, which is a research organization. This was for a toxicology company. Phase 2, phase 0 companies that offer testing for the different drugs. Pharmacy chains, developing a list price optimization and trade terms for a chain that works across the EU. Or even actually lately we did for a private hospital in the UK, very interesting, where we looked at price opportunities and defining a governance around that. And basically this company, was losing money, or this hospital was losing money because they were not able to charge the copay to patients. So we developed a structure in terms of, how to charge, where to charge. That was, ethically compliant to the market they were actually operating in. So this gives you a little bit idea of the work we do. Alex, to you.
Sure. Thank you, Omar. Just introduce myself very quickly. I'm Alex. I've worked at Simon Kucher now for 2 years next week. So exciting work anniversary. I've been based in the Copenhagen office the entire time. However, as we're going to explore now, that's very much not where you necessarily are going to be working. So typically, because life sciences is so internationally focused anyway, our clients international and our projects invariably become international, and therefore so have our project teams. And one of the big benefits is that you get to work with new people on almost every project within Simon Kucher, and also with new clients, and your projects and their scope really vary, particularly when it comes to international markets. Just to go through the screen, we've had over 350 in the US in the last 3 years, 1,700 in the 5 largest EU countries, 280 in Asia, and over 800 projects with emerging market as key focus. Let's go to the next slide. We, as a result of this, as you can imagine, there come a lot of international opportunities with your projects. Some are better than others, I will say, but overall, very, very exciting. Omar and I had the pleasure this time last year of going to India together on a project, which is a really great experience. I've also recently done one in the north of England, so there's ups and downs in terms of how exotic locations are, but colleagues in the office have spent time in Mexico, South Korea, Germany. So there's a lot of interesting different places you can go, and with that, interesting clients as well. One particular thing Simon Kucher offers, which is really good, quite unique, is this office rotation possibility. So you can rotate to a different office. You can make a case for any of the 25 that have life sciences, and in special circumstances, one of the 39. And Simon Kucher will help you out, and you can do an exchange there for 6 months, living in a new city, trying new projects, work with new clients before returning back to your original office. And there's always a possibility of an office transfer as well. So when it comes to projects themselves, they really vary, and not only in scope, in clients, and the nature of the work, but also in the setup themselves. So you can be working, the classic consulting 3 to 4 days a week on site, whether that's flying to the country Monday to Thursday, pre-corona, or whether you're working, in-house in the Copenhagen office with the same team, or whether you're working with different Simon Kucher team members, based across the world. You always get a new perspective, get new friends and new colleagues, and it's always an interesting dynamic whenever you approach a new project. And so with this, no 2 projects are the same. I've worked for 2 years now. I've done quite a number of projects, and I can hand on heart say I've never done the same project twice. There's always a unique thing. Even just client preferences, changes in regulations, changes in data, anything that's a variable will always be a variable, and in this sense will lead to very different outcomes for the client and in the nature of the work you end up doing. And with that, you learn on every single project, and that's what keeps this job interesting, is that every 2 or 3 months you're tackling a new challenge and a new problem, and this is what keeps you fresh and learning. I see I've about to get a time warning. Well, that's everything. If you just go to the next slide, you can learn more about us on our booth and as well as on our website, simonkucher.com, for internship and graduate positions.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Alexander.
Thank you.
And good luck with the one-on-one meetings.
Thank you very much.
So we're getting to Sundhub now. Nette, are you here?
Yes, hello.
All right. Nette, so you should be able to share your screen now.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. And thank you very much. So I think my presentation is a little bit different from some of the others because I'm not representing a company. I am representing the Sundhub, which is the Faculty of Health and Medical Sciences student hub at Copenhagen University, but it's open for students from all universities. So please feel free to come by. Just shortly who we are. We are 3 people working there. It's Peter and Anna, showed here on the right. They are working there full time, and they work with all the programs and the business development help. And they are right now busy with another workshop. So I am representing Sundhub today, and I am working normally at Panum in the Faculty of Health and Medical Sciences, but I'm also a scientific advisor in Sundhub. So I'm supporting some of the teams that are very focused on life science and medical health. So what we do is that we work with students in idea creation and development. We have some programs. One of them is an incubator program, and I will tell you a little bit more about the programs later. And then we do some support in business development for the student entrepreneurs that we have. We also work with competence development and developing creative competences. And then we have some ECTS awarding innovation projects. So here is just some of our teams that we have in the hub. It's just a small portion of who is there now that have been, these are some that have been in the programs, either of the very early ones where they developed an idea or the later ones where they were actually incubated and was provided with some business help. And they are within a wide scope of all medical fields, and some of them are working with diagnostic tests. Some of them is for Wiser Africa. So it's different from team to team, but we welcome all teams. Yeah, so what we do is basically we try to prepare the students for the changing job markets of the future. So providing some of the competences that you may not develop in the normal courses that you have during your education. And we have some programs that we do that in. One of them is called Challenge Track, and you can apply now if you're interested. It's a 10-week program that consists of 6 workshops, and it's for curious and innovative students that want to learn more about the methods. So you you can come alone, you can come in or in a team, it doesn't matter. And then we will match you with a team if you don't have a team. And then you will go through this process where you will start to try to get some ideas, look at some needs. It can be in the clinic, it can be in the world, it can be in the society. Then you will work with these needs and problems, try to come up with some solutions, and then we will help you shape that solution, and then we will help you communicate that solution and idea. And then it'll end with a final at the end. Then the next program, which is actually following the challenge track, is called Health Innovators. And that is also a 10 weeks workshop program. And this is more for students that have an idea. So you have a team and an idea. You can also come alone, but it's most likely that you have a team and an idea. And then you work with that through these through this program, where you will get some, we will be a little bit tougher on you when it comes to the need and the development of the idea, like what is your solution actually doing? Is it actually covering a need? Then we will look into the markets and the business models and the strategy of going to the market or into the clinical sector. We will also provide some help with funding and resources, help you create a plan of how to actually get funded. And then there will be some pitch training, and then they will all end with a pitch competition at the end of the program. And then there is the last program that we run, which is when you then have an idea, you have more an idea that it is actually a problem that you're solving. And then it'll start with a boot camp, and then you will be incubated for 12 months, and you can work, you can be in our office facilities, and you can come there and meet with your team, use the facilities. And then you will go through this program that will help prepare you to stand alone after you are done with the incubator program. And this is a little bit more where you will get some concrete help with developing your startup idea or your actual startup. Maybe get a CVR number, create a team, start looking into the regulatory affairs, like what is it that you have to be aware of, and then telling the right story, of course. And we'll also help you write up some applications to cover some of the early steps of your funding. Yes, and then the last one is the ECTS awarding program that we have. It's an internship in your own startup or in another startup, where you can do a course or you can do a part of your master thesis where you actually work in your own startup to help getting you some of these innovative and entrepreneurial competencies. We are located at Nørre Allé, right across the street from Panum. And we have 400 square meters of office space, which covers meeting rooms. And we have a prototyping facility as well, where you can use the 3D printer. There's coffee, tea. And we also have a pool of domain experts that are free to use while you are incubated there or while you are part of one of our programs. So that can be, you can get help with lawyers or patent lawyers or financial advisory. That it can be consulting within the regulatory field or marketing advice. How do you market your idea? We also run some events, some inspirational events, life science events, social events, and some networking. And if you have more questions, you're always welcome to come by, or you can find more information. The details is in the bottom of the screen here. You can find more information there. You're always welcome to write to us if you have any questions or comments, or if you just want to discuss an idea, we can help maybe set you up with a team or some other students or something. So yeah, feel free to contact us at any time. And that was all from me.
All right, thank you, Nadja. I think we have some time before the next presentation then. So we will just take a break.
Yes.
And start at 5:45 again.
So I can leave now?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
Bye.
Hey.
Hi, Jan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So you should have access to share your screen.
Yes. Just try and do that. Did that work?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So the word is yours.
Okay, I'll just go ahead then.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, hello everybody who's listening in. My name is Jan Andersen, and I'm representing today together with my colleague Georgios Massis, the company Amgen Research Copenhagen, or ARC. And I'd like to talk to you a bit about our company technology, some work examples if you are employed here, and then some potential opportunities now and in the future. So first, a little bit about who we are. We used to be the small Danish biotech company New Evolution, and we existed from 2001 to 2019. Then we were acquired by Amgen in July 2019, and after that we were renamed to Amgen Research Copenhagen. And we are based on Østerbro in Copenhagen. Shortly about the company structure. We are mainly focusing on R&D and discovery research. Just get the point out here. So that is primarily what we do. That is basic research and discovery chemistry to find new potential drugs. We have a total of 66 employees. We're spanning 10 plus nationalities. We're currently 26 full-time employed scientists, and we have a student group of 16. So the discovery research unit is broken down into two other units, and the large one here is primarily involved in chemistry, and then there's a small unit over here which is the biology section. This is where I'm working, and my colleague Georgios is working in the parallel chemistry section. Then we have 3 discovery units that are working on different targets. Then we have an automation unit and a parallel chemistry unit, and then a unit where they produce the libraries that we are using in our company. Currently, we have 2 open positions, one here in the library production group, and one as a chemist in the discovery unit 2. Initially, I would have liked to show you this super cool YouTube video describing what the technology in our company is actually all about. So it's a drug discovery platform that is based on DNA-encoded small molecule libraries, also known as DEL. That doesn't fly with the Zoom setup, so I hope that you will watch it yourself through our virtual stall where I've placed the link. But if I can just tell you about it in a nutshell, in a few slides, we basically, our technology is based on combination of organic fragments that are coded with DNA tags. And doing that, you can build large DNA encoded small molecule libraries. Just given here an example, if you have 10,000 fragments and you combine that with another 10,000 fragments, you will end up having a DNA library of 100 million unique compounds. And all of these compounds, each one of them is a potential new drug because they are unique. And if you just think about conventional industry, their compound collection is typically 500,000 to 2 million compounds. And just in one library, we are already at 100 million that we can screen and potentially find new drugs like this. This is how we do it, step by step. So somebody in the DEL production facility, they build the libraries by combining, as I told you about, the various fragments. And then each time you add a fragment, you code that fragment with a DNA tag. So you have coded the organic structure by DNA. Then when you're done that, you can make a lot of various libraries like that. So you'll end up having all of the library material in a single Eppendorf tube, actually only 50 microliters, representing hundreds of millions to billions of unique compounds. You then take that and you combine it with a potential drug target. It could be a protein causing a certain disease. Then you mix that together, and then after the selection, you isolate all of the active compounds, so compounds that have bound to your drug target. Then you sequence your DNA, and that translates the DNA code into the structure of the molecule that was bound to that DNA. And then by doing that, you can identify the drug molecules that have bound to your target. Then we take the information to the parallel chemistry group or the chemist, and they make the compounds of DNA in free form. And then we can test it again in the biology group to see how potent they are and what they're doing to the drug target. And then we go in circles like that. Some work examples, if you were working in the chemistry department. So many of our chemists, they are doing, if you need large amount of compounds, they're doing the traditional flash scale synthesis. But primarily, we are working with small scale parallel synthesis in 96-fold plates. And here a typical work example, if you were working with parallel synthesis, would be that you plan a campaign or plan experiments where you end up having 5 to 50 final compounds, depending on the chemistry you're using. Then you do it in the 96-fold plates, so you would quantify it and purify it using various techniques. Then prepare stock solutions, also using various robots. And update the databases with all the compound information that you gathered in the synthesis, and then all that information plus the compound is then transferred into the biology section where the biologist tests the compounds. Then some examples of how it will look like in the biology section. So besides screening the potential drug targets, we also do a lot of assaying to quantify or to measure the affinity of the compounds. That could be biochemical assays, it could also be biophysical assays, or we can even test the compounds in various cellular assays. Just giving a few examples here is the fluorescence polarization assay, a very useful assay for testing binding affinities. Also have alpha screen, TR-FRET. In biophysical assay department, you have SPR, which is a well-known technique. MST is up and coming, and then thermal shift assays, which is an old workhorse in determining binding affinities. Of course, in the cell assay department, we have various assays for testing cell death. That could be a wanted ability you want in a compound, but it can also certainly be an unwanted ability if it's toxic. So you can play around with a lot of assays in that as well. And we can do that. Also do biomarker readouts using the ELISA technique and look at it in Western blots to see if we are degrading any particular protein of interest. And then we also do a lot of gene expression profiling on PCR. That both on cells but also on tissue once in a while. So now for the important part. So are there any job opportunities currently at Amgen Research Copenhagen? And again, the link is available in the virtual stall, and we should have 2 positions open right now. And you can also play around with the job search function. And if you're interested in working, for example, in other departments of Amgen, you can also search out jobs like that. And in the future, we are looking to hire approximately 10 to 15 new staff within the R&D department during 2021 and 2022, depending on how the corona situation is looking going forward. So you should really look out for the post on the various platforms, for example, LinkedIn or Stepstone or where else you might find job opportunities. And of course, the job location that you have the link to here. With that, I think I will end and see if there are any questions in the audience. Thank you.
Hi, Jan. Thank you very much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
So there are no questions for now. So
okay,
I'd say thank you for a great presentation.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity and have a great evening.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye. All right, so thank you to all the company who've presented today. Just a few final words from the Synapse team. So first of all, we have a few upcoming events in our calendar. So one of our most popular events are coming up called To PhD or Not to PhD. It's hosted by our Lund team in Sweden, and it's an event where we have invited a bunch of different life science professionals in to discuss their experience, concerns, and thoughts about having a PhD or not having a PhD when pursuing different career paths within life science. Besides that, we have our upcoming, we have our quarterly magazine coming out in a few weeks, filled with a lot of interesting articles about recent trends in life science in general, and a lot of interesting interviews with different professionals from different life science companies.
Yep, and then if you are interested in being a part of Synapse and contributing to these kind of events, then we are currently recruiting, and the deadline is October 11th. And we welcome all universities and all with a relevant life science background to apply. And we are recruiting for both the Copenhagen hub and the Lund hub. And you apply by going onto our website and follow the form there. Otherwise, that is what we had to today for this career fair. We thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you at future Synapse events. But in the meantime, stay updated on our LinkedIn, our Facebook and Instagram page, and otherwise stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey.